بلجيكا أو مملكة بلجيكا هي دولة ذات نظام ملكي اتحادي في أوروبا الغربية، وهي عضو مؤسس في الاتحاد الأوروبي. في بلجيكا لغتين رئيسيتين هما الهولندية المتكلمين بها حوالي 59%، ومعظمهم الفلامنكية والمتكلمين بالفرنسية حوالي 41%، بالإضافة إلى مجموعة صغيرة من المتحدثين بالألمانية. بلجيكا تشترك في الحدود مع فرنسا، ألمانيا ولوكسمبورغ وهولندا. تاريخياً بلجيكا، هولندا ولوكسمبورغ كانت تعرف باسم البلدان المنخفضة، والتي تستخدم لتغطية مساحة أكبر نوعاً ما من المجموعة الحالية للدول البنلوكس. وتاريخياً كانت بلجيكا تحمل اسم بلجيكا اللاتينية نظراً لانضمام بلجيكا إلى إحدى المقاطعات الرومانية. وكان لبرنامج جسور موعد مع سعادة سفيرة بلجيكا بمنزلها، والذي يقع في منطقة العمرانية، والبيت عمره أكثر من 100 عام، وقد تم شراء الفيلا من والدة الفنان جميل راتب، فهي سيدة صعيدية وهي ابنة شقيق المناضلة هدى شعراوي. ويمتاز هذا المنزل بأنه على الطراز المعماري الإنجليزي.
أنا يكون مع السيدة سيبيل ديكارتي سفيرة بلجيكا بالقاهرة. Excellency Sibyl Ducarty, welcome Excellency to our program. We have a lot of common relations and historical relation between Egypt and Belgium. And at the beginning, we want to talk our diplomatic relation. It started in 1838.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me in the program. Yes, indeed, we have a very long relation between Egypt and Belgium, and very diversified as well. We have been working together on many fields, from the diplomatic front to the commercial one and the cultural one, for now indeed more than 150 years, and we continue.
Our viewers want to know more about the history about your house here, and it dates back to our actress Gamir Ratib, and it belongs to his mother.
Yeah, the first owner was a British, and the last owner before Belgium was indeed Gamil Ratib's mother. So it's a house which has a long history. Actually, it came in Gamil Ratib's family also through family members of Hoda Sharawi, so it has a very strong history. And the first owner was a British that was working for FCO, the Foreign Affairs at the British side, but also the Egyptian Foreign Affairs, and was involved in the discussion with Carter's family.
So Carter's family, it's dating back to the excavation of Tutankhamun, the tomb, or?
Exactly, because as you know, after there was a discussion to bring back some of the pieces back to Egypt, and it seems that the first owner was involved in this discussion. So it's a house that is more than a century old, and that is now in the property of Belgium since the 60s.
Okay, very, very interesting. And it's you know, it has a special kind of English architecture. It looks like.
Exactly, yeah.
كانت على مدار سنوات زيارات ملكية بلجيكية لمصر، وأقيم معرض يضم نحو 60 صورة فوتوغرافية وعدداً من المخطوطات تعرض لأول مرة بمصر، تحكي تاريخ الزيارات الملكية البلجيكية لمصر منذ أكثر من قرن ونصف قرن من الزمان، لنبحر من خلالها لتوضيح عمق العلاقات المصرية البلجيكية.
We had also a lot of royal visits which came to Egypt and visit Egypt since 1855.
1855, yes.
1855. There were also a very nice visit of royal visits to Egypt, and it was a private visit from the royal family. I think you had a very special visit. It was the visit of the Countess, and she was the grand daughter of Nupar Pasha.
The royal visits and princely visits in Egypt are a symbol of the relationship we have, you know. They underline the long relationship, the vivid history between our two countries, and the fact that that there is friendship and love between the two nations.
هناك تعاون بين مصر وبلجيكا في مجال الآثار، فهناك تعاون بين وزارة السياحة والآثار والمعهد الهولندي الفلامنكي بالقاهرة وجامعة لوفان البلجيكية وجامعة ماينز الألمانية، وذلك في منطقة دير البرشا بالمنيا التي تعود إلى الدولة الوسطى. تمثل آثار من التوابيت الخشبية والمميزة، كما أقيم لأهم الاكتشافات بدير البرشا بالمتحف المصري معرض تحت عنوان الحياة في الموت.
You had a lot of Egyptology missions who are working here in Egypt in different sites in Deir el-Barsha, in El Cap, and you had also a visit to Luxor before.
Yes, I mean, we have the privilege to have here various missions that are working from Alexandria to El Cap. So it's really covering the country, and with very good experts in various fields working to understand, you know, better the history of the country, but which is also a common history somehow. And yeah, I had the privilege to visit with our archaeologues the different sites, and I was impressed. I mean, because you know, when you visit with them, you have a new look on all these sites because you see it through a very different eyes. For example, we have one of our mission in Luxor. They are working on understanding the history of art within the tombs, which is fascinating because you can recognize in these tombs of the nobles in Luxor, you can recognize the different artists which are there. Okay. Just one example of many things. We went together to Deir el-Barsha. There you also not only have the history of the site, which is a very fascinating site, but also, you know, they discovered a piece of a statue that was already discovered a while ago. So you have all little pieces like this that are put together and that help us neophytes to understand better the history of Egypt, but which is also part of our common human history.
You had also an exhibition about all the handcrafts and which were excavated in Deir el-Barsha at the Egyptian Museum, and it was a very nice exhibition. And the title of the exhibition was Life in Death or Life in Death or something like that.
This exhibition was actually celebrating a centenary of excavation in Deir el Bersha. Our Belgian mission is not there for a centenary, but it's been worked, among others, by also Egyptian Egyptologists earlier. And so it was a way to celebrate, all these discoveries through the years, and which are a reflection of very important discoveries to understand the Middle Kingdom.
قصر البارون مبان هو أحد قصور مصر الأثرية ذات الطراز المعماري الخاص، شيده المليونير البلجيكي البارون إدوارد مبان الذي جاء إلى مصر قادما في نهاية القرن التاسع عشر بعد وقت قليل من افتتاح قناة السويس، فشرع في إقامة مشروع سكني جديد في صحراء القاهرة تحت اسم هليوبوليس، وقرر إنشاء قصر الخاص بها، فاختار تصميما على طراز العمارة الهندوسية الأوروبية للمعماري الفرنسي ألكسندر مارسيل. كان معروضا خلال معرض هندسي في باريس. بدأ بناء القصر في عام 1906 ميلادية وافتتح في عام 1911. الخمسينيات، ومع تنقل الملكية الخاصة بالقصر بدأ القصر يتعرض للإهمال، حتى قامت الحكومة المصرية بشرائه في عام 2005 لقيمته الأثرية والمعمارية، وبدأت وزارة الآثار المصرية أعمال ترميمه في عام 2017 والتي انتهت بافتتاحه في عام 2020. القصر من الداخل حجمه صغير، فهو لا يزيد عن طابقين ويحتوي على 7 حجرات فقط. الطابق الأول عبارة عن صالة كبيرة و3 حجرات، والثالثة استعملها البارون مبان كصالة للعب البلياردو. أما الطابق العلوي فيتكون من 4 حجرات للنوم، ولكل حجرة حمام ملحق بها. كما كشفت السفيرة البلجيكية سيبيل ديكارتي عن حقائق عديدة وتصحيح لبعض المعلومات حول قصر البارون.
A lot of stories dating back to the Baron Mban, and there was the opening ceremony of the Baron. It looks great and fine and very beautiful palace. We need to talk about the stories related to the Baron Mban and about his sons, not daughter, because a lot of people thinking that the Baron had a daughter and not sons. So what is the truth about the Baron and his family? It's a story about his sister who died inside the palace. All are legends and stories about the Baron.
So first of all, we are very happy that we have contributed to the restoration of this symbol of Heliopolis, yes, which has been constructed by the Baron more than a century ago now. So that's the first part of the story, because Edouard Rampin was a very famous industrialist, Belgian. He was active in many countries around the world. He was really one of the probably one of the most powerful men of his time, not only in Belgium but worldwide, and he had many companies here involved in electricity and so. So he decided he had this crazy dream of creating Heliopolis in the middle of the desert, and started not only by constructing the city, but he started by constructing the connection between Heliopolis and Cairo at the time, because it was not like today. I mean, Heliopolis was very far away of Cairo at the time. So the tramway that we all still know and remember was established before he started the city. And then he had this crazy idea of having a style for the city.
And he was living before in India?
No, he never lived in India. he was living between Belgium, Paris.
And
he
he
had
didn't
companies
travel
all
to
around the world.
India at all?
He
Because
didn't travel to India.
really?
I don't
Because
think,
all the people thought that he was living in India, and he was, you know,
because
planning, because he built a palace like the Indian architecture.
but I will tell you the history
The
of the
truth.
palace. Alexandre Marcel, who is the architect of the Empin Palace, the Hindu palace, actually came to present some of his work at the Universal Exhibition of Paris in the beginning of the 20th century. And this work that he did there inspired the Belgian king, Leopold II, that bought one of the tower that is now still in Belgium. And he asked, the Baron Empin asked Alexandre Marcel to build his palace here. And the palace, of course, is very different than the rest of Heliopolis, because there was a very strict instruction for Heliopolis. You couldn't build a house in Heliopolis without the authorization of the Heliopolis company. And it had to be this neo-Ottoman, neo-Islamic style. So the Hindu palace, for the boss of Heliopolis, didn't respect any of this instruction, but created and was inspired by the Hindu style of you know, it's actually based on the Wat, the Cambodia, Angkor Wat, and
even the statues, the Indian style and everything, and even the you know, with the statues at the beginning of the palace and so on. And it was told that there is a tower which is moving.
There is a lot of legends. So first, the Baron had no daughter; he has only 2 sons. And second, there was no revolving tower or mechanism inside turning with the sun or something. These are all legends of the palace. There are many more. I think the fact that the palace was abandoned so long created a lot of stories about it. But sometimes the reality is even more interesting, and I advise people to go and visit the
it's
palace.
It's a very nice place.
And it has a beautiful exhibition explaining the story of the city and the story of the palace.
And even once you had an exhibition about all the photos of Heliopolis before, and the structure, and even the architecture of Heliopolis, you had an exhibition about it.
You have an exhibition right now that we work together. It's an exhibition that was done by the Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism, but with support of Belgian experts, and we are very happy to see this exhibition today in the palace, and it really gives back the true facts about Heliopolis and its story.
وقد بدأت العلاقات بين البلدين منذ أربعينيات القرن العشرين، وتأتي أهمية العلاقة بين البلدين نتيجة للموقع الإقليمي الذي تحظى به كلتا البلدان، حيث تعتبر بلجيكا قلب الاتحاد الأوروبي، وتعتبر عاصمتها بروكسل عاصمة غير رسمية للاتحاد الأوروبي لكثرة مقار الاتحاد فيها.
We need to know, you are since 4 years here in Egypt, and you visited, I think, a lot of places. Which places do you prefer?
Oh, I cannot answer that question. There are too many places. But I have to say I've been privileged to go around Egypt, to go around Cairo, and I think there are a lot of treasures of Egypt and even of Cairo that are not known enough. I think people know mostly the big pharaonic sites. There is very little known about the Coptic treasures and the Islamic treasures of Egypt. And even within the pharaonic sites, people usually don't have a lot of time when they visit Egypt, but I really invite them to spend more time and discover more treasures.
At the end, I want to know also about Belgium. How did they face the corona? We want to know how the people in Belgium protected themselves against the coronavirus, and because I saw a lot of pictures with the masks and new ideas about the mask in Belgium, about even when you are diving or something like that, that they used it to protect from coronavirus.
So Belgium, like many other European countries and many countries worldwide, has indeed been affected by this pandemic. We have unfortunately, of course, had too many lives lost with this tragedy. But on the other hand, we can be very happy because our health system has been able to cope.
Okay.
We have been able to avoid that the system was overburdened, and even our intensive care was never more than 60% full. So we have not had, like unfortunately some countries had, to refuse cases or not being able to give care. Still, it has been difficult, and yes, today we are very happy to see that the situation is much better, that we are going slowly back to a normal life, but we are still careful. We still have measures in place, we still have limitation to travel, but I hope we are seeing the end of the tunnel. I think we still have to have a bit of patience to go through, not only in Belgium but also in Egypt and in many other countries.
If you are going to send your people in your country a message to visit Egypt, what would you like to tell them?
I mean, definitely, of course, today it's not possible, but I hope it will be possible to reopen very soon when we are over this crisis now. And definitely, as I was saying, I think I would advise people to go further than the big sites that are known and that are fantastic, but also to discover some of the hidden treasures outside of the usual tracks, some of the Coptic treasures. Go to Abydos, maybe go to Siwa if they have the possibility. Egypt has so much to offer.
You were planning to have a joint venture with Egypt in different projects in the future.
Belgium companies are involved in many projects here. I think we were involved in all the STAR project. Companies were there for the extension of the Suez Canal. We have a Belgian construction company building the famous Grand Egyptian Museum. And we are looking also at the future. We have a lot of other projects, and we have, for example, the port of Antwerp now involved in an energy hub together with the European Union. So I think we can look at the future, with a lot of prospects for a cooperation that is very promising and benefiting for both countries.
Thank you, Excellency, for your time.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Thank you.